Welcome to the Wireless LAN News Desk on December 28th, 2018. This is our last news desk for 2018 and the final in the three-part series on certification preparation tips. Here in part 3, we're going to talk about exam day. And what I'm going to be doing is basically sharing with you the way I go through preparing to take an exam. It has worked well for me. I'm not telling you this is the model that everyone should use, but I think it can benefit you to have some of these tips of what I've learned to use over the years after taking dozens and dozens of certification exams. Remember, you can always find us on Twitter at CWNP and at Carpenter Tom, and all of these videos are always archived on the CWNP TV YouTube channel. Let's begin by talking about the day before the exam. The day before the exam, one of the most important things you can do is hydration. You want to make sure that you are well hydrated. All of the research shows us that the human brain functions best when you're well hydrated. This is why, for example, when someone becomes extremely dehydrated, they begin to suffer from brain symptoms. And so you want your brain to work as well as it can. Therefore, you want hydration. You also want nutrition. This might seem odd, but if you like fish, I recommend eating fish the day before. There is research that shows us that fish oils can improve brain function. Why not do it the day before if you don't do it regularly? Personally, I would recommend doing it regularly, but nutrition is important. Eat healthy that day before. Don't eat a lot of high sugar that causes fatigue either the day before or the day of. So hydration and nutrition are key. I also recommend 1 to 2 hours of notes review before you go to sleep. So before you go to sleep, and a good 30 minutes before you go to sleep, I would spend 1 to 2 hours. So if I'm going to go to sleep at 10 o'clock, I'm going to spend time from maybe 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock or 7:30 to 9:30 going over all of my notes for the exam that I'm about to take. Then you want to sleep for 7 to 9 hours. For most people, of course, you know what's best for you to feel fully rested. But make sure you get that good sleep the night before. So the day before, these are some things that I do to help prepare for an exam day. Then on exam day, there's some things to do before the testing center. Make sure you review your notes again. And then leave and arrive 30 minutes early. Now, the reason you want to arrive 30 minutes early is twofold. Number one, when you plan to arrive 30 minutes early, it can address any problems you might experience on the way. I remember one time I was actually involved in an automobile accident on the way to the testing center. And because I left early, I had the accident, had the police reports done, left the accident, and was only 10 minutes late getting to the testing center, and they let me go in and take the exam. Oh, and by the way, yes, I did pass the exam that day. But the important thing is that when you plan to arrive early, it helps to lower stress, and it gives you time for what I think is the most important last thing to do before going into the testing center, and that is to read the exam objectives. I've mentioned this in the other parts of this series, but I really encourage you to read the exam objectives as the last thing you do before you go into the testing center, and then pause and reflect on something else. Literally just stop and think about a time that you passed another exam. Think about a time when you accomplished something good in your life. In other words, focus on a past success. Reflect on it. Think about it. I know this might sound mushy-gushy, but believe me, it puts you in the right positive frame of mind to have the self-confidence to go in there and pass that exam. So reflect on some achievement that you have made before going into that testing center. And then guess what? Drink some water and use the restroom. Now you're ready to go up to that counter, give them your ID, and go in and take the exam. In the test room, the first thing many people do is jot down any facts you might need during the exam. Now, I don't do this personally, but if this is your personality, this works for you to take that dry erase document that they give you and jot down various facts. Like, for example, what does it mean to add 3 dB or subtract 3 dB to the strength of an RF wave? To just quickly jot down facts. That can be something that's beneficial for you. I do not do this. I feel like it takes away from the total pool of knowledge that I have. This is just me. And I then begin to focus on those things and I lose sight of other facts. So I don't do that, but this does work well for some people. So I'm including this here even though it's not something I do because some people have found it very helpful. Breathe throughout the exam. Make sure you stop and take a breath because you want to make sure that you're keeping yourself oxygenated. I said that you need to be hydrated, you need to have nutrition. Well, you also need to have oxygen. So breathe throughout the exam. Don't let stress cause your breath to be shallow. Pause and clear your mind periodically. So maybe every 5 or 10 questions, stop and just clear your mind. Go back and think about that positive achievement again. Give yourself 10 to 20 seconds to just clear your thoughts and then go back to the exam. It gives you a re-energizing moment. Here's a big one. Answer every single question. So don't skip a question. If you don't know the answer it anyway. You've got a chance, right? So always answer every question. When you're second guessing an answer and you are simply unsure, just go with that first impulse. This is my experience. Again, you know yourself best, but my experience has been that my first impulse is usually the right one, and my second guessing usually just comes from uncertainty. So go with that first impulse. It's more likely to be the right answer. Well, these are a few tips that I hope you find helpful, and I'd like to thank you for viewing this series on exam preparation. It's about 15 to 20 minutes now of total time of suggestions for how to get ready for any certification exam. And these tips will certainly help you when preparing for CWNP exams. Well, let me just pause for one moment and thank you very much for viewing the Wireless LAN News Desk throughout 2018. We started this back in January, and now here we are in December, and it's been successful. We've had a lot of new people contact us and communicate with us throughout the year because of it, and I'm very excited about the growth of the Wireless LAN News Desk next year. So I will see you in 2019.